Greetings, Ukraine. Greetings to our unbreakable community. Joining you on the Razom UA channel is Muzika with our weekly news digest covering events from around the world, Ukraine, and our home community. The news feed is constantly overflowing with events, but we choose only those that are truly worth reflecting upon. After all, we don't just watch the news, we live in it. It's a fierce march for us again. Quite a lot is occurring in the world, and even more is taking place. World news. Let's start with a small event that nevertheless deserves great attention. Belgium has joined the club of countries hunting for Russian Federation shadow tankers. On March 1st, Belgian and French military detained another ghost tanker. The tanker Etera has a fake Venezuelan flag and 45 gross violations, including forged documents and certificates. Nothing unusual, everything as always. The vessel is arrested. The operation, which lasted several hours, had a strange name: Blue Violator. Why blue? Perhaps because the captain and crew were in a state of chronic alcohol intoxication. Of course, this is not certain, but it is quite possible. The main thing is, hunting season is open, there's plenty of work. Estimates show the Shadow Fleet has over 1,000 vessels, 600 to 650 of them are under sanctions. No one insures such vessels, and they are banned from entering normal ports. Under international law, in the territorial waters of other countries, they can and should be detained for being there without insurance or for being in poor technical condition. But these ships are still roaming the English Channel right under the noses of the French and the British. The problem is that these vessels change their flags almost every single night. Also, storming such an old tub could result in an environmental disaster in the English Channel. Of course, everyone is afraid of that. But let's hope that the story of the Blue Violator is the beginning of the end for the ghost ship fleet of the terrorist state. On a sour note, Orban has every chance of losing the elections in Hungary on April 12th. His primary strategy for his campaign is anti-Ukrainian hysteria in controlled media and various aggressive public statements. Overall, this is nothing particularly new. But the next step has also been taken. On March 6th, Hungary confiscated $40 million, 35 million euros, and 9 kilograms of gold from Ukrainian couriers in Budapest. 7 employees of Bank have been arrested. According to the Ukrainian side, a routine and completely legal banking operation for transporting valuables was being carried out. The Hungarian authorities, however, insist they are fighting money laundering. Perhaps the Orban era will soon end, and the problem in Hungarian-Ukrainian relations will resolve itself. The couriers were finally released. They are safe, but all are in a difficult emotional state, and one has had a medical condition flare up. The money is still with the Hungarians. The country's authorities demand the disclosure of the owners of the seized assets. The war of the United States and Israel against Iran was the main driver of world news last week. Because of it, the global oil market has begun to experience severe turbulence. The blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, burning oil fields and tankers, all of this was bound to affect prices. Over the last 2 weeks, oil prices have risen by about 15% and gas by 10%. Middle Eastern oil and gas suppliers promised to stabilize the market situation, but the market somehow believes missile and drone strikes more than promises. Everyone is nervous. Qatar is nervous. After the United States, it's the world's second largest producer of liquefied natural gas. The operation of the largest liquefied natural gas export terminal has been paralyzed. A pair of Iranian drones halted 20% of the world's LPG exports. And we've been saying that Iranian drones are evil for more than just 1 year now. Trump is very nervous.
This was our last best chance to strike what we're doing right now and eliminate the intolerable threats posed by this sick and sinister regime.
Iran must be defeated by summer because if the war with Iran drags on, in the fall the Republicans are almost guaranteed to lose Congress. European countries are nervous, oil prices are rising, stock markets are volatile, the risks of a new migration crisis are growing, and US support in the war could trigger a new wave of terrorism. Middle Eastern oil exporters are nervous, as exports are under threat and strikes have begun in places that were thought to be completely safe. Dubai airport was also hit. Air travel in many countries in the region has been cancelled. Understandably, as there are other aircraft in the sky right now. Hundreds of thousands of people are stranded and cannot return home. The losses are colossal. Azerbaijan is on edge. By European standards, it's a bit too much. Nakhchivan was also hit. Azerbaijan has mobilized its reservists and placed its army on a state of maximum combat readiness. This involves redeploying troops to strategic combat positions and preparing for a potential new flashpoint. Let's not forget that northwestern Iran is historically considered southern Azerbaijan. In the early 19th century, these ethnic Azerbaijani lands were divided between the Russian Empire and Persia. Today, 20 to 30 million ethnic Azerbaijanis live in Iran, which is triple the population of Azerbaijan itself. There are many Azerbaijanis serving in the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Will Iran survive in its current? After all, the Kurds have also started to get nervous. American-Israeli bombings have cleared the way for Kurdish armed groups. According to reports, several thousand fighters are ready to enter Iranian Kurdistan. The potential for the situation to escalate is becoming increasingly greater. Accordingly, China is very nervous as it accounts for 40% of the oil traffic in the Strait of Hormuz. The PRC is politely asking not to interfere with shipping for now, although Iran, the Houthis and other outcasts have been creating tension in the region all along, and China doesn't need this tension at all. So it's quite possible that before starting a war against Iran, the US somehow reached an agreement with China, specifically regarding a new maritime security order. Presumably, if such agreements were made, the Russian Federation is not part of them. So Moscow is also nervous, but it's not doing anything because it can't.
Sanctions are not to be expected. As far as I can judge, no one is pursuing unilateral sanctions against the United States.
And Moscow's pathetic statements about the inadmissibility of aggression are no longer taken seriously by anyone. Another strategic ally is being lost, and the Russian Federation cannot help them in any way. And it's too early for Muscovites to uncork the champagne over rising oil prices. What difference does it make how much your oil costs if your shadow fleet has such problems? Of course, Iran is the most nervous. The IRGC, that is the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, effectively a state within a state, could lose everything it has and cease to exist altogether. Let's remember this is the same IRGC that shot down our Ukrainian civilian plane and still hasn't answered for it. Now the sky over Iran is under the control of the US and Israeli aircraft. In Iran, virtually every significant strategic target is being hit. Iranian soldiers can still fire missiles and drones at neighbors for a while longer and make clumsy and unpolished video recordings of their missiles hitting some enemy ships. This video has recently gone viral online. An old Soviet space rocket is seen hitting a Japanese battleship from World War II. At the very least, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has finally found out that AI can generate these videos, but they clearly haven't learned how to write prompts just yet. And the reality is that their defeat is just around the corner. Ukraine is on edge. Of course, there is some good news for us. For example, Russia is losing a key ally and weapons supplier. There will be fewer Shaheds, which have terrorized our cities for years. Furthermore, the Iranian transit corridor for grey imports and sanctioned goods to Moscow via the Caspian Sea may finally close soon. It was also good to learn that our partners remembered that Ukraine possesses unique first-hand experience in effectively fighting swarms of Iranian drones. Ukraine has already received a request from the US and Gulf countries for help in the fight against Shaheds. This is all good, but there is also some troubling news. The world's attention is once again being diverted from the need to support Ukraine. And once again, it turns out American weapons are now needed by more than just us.
An air defense missile, using its homing head, spots an enemy object in the sky and then locks onto it. It reports this information to the system operator. The operator presses the launch button, the missile launches and successfully strikes the target.
Especially missiles for air defense systems. And of course, Ukraine is worried about energy prices, but that's a topic for another conversation. With Slovakia, it's a different but also telling story. Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico announced the termination of the emergency electricity supply agreement with Ukraine. The formal reason is the conflict surrounding the Druzhba oil pipeline. Bratislava claims that Ukraine is allegedly intentionally not resuming the pumping of Russian oil. The tone of the statements is familiar. A bit of economics, a bit of politics, a bit of internal PR. Slovakia is also currently undergoing its own internal struggle for the electorate, and the Ukrainian issue is increasingly being used as a convenient political tool. But if we set aside the political slogans and look at the cold, hard facts of energy mathematics, the picture is much calmer. Ukrinago reports that this decision will not actually affect the power situation in Ukraine. The last time Ukraine requested emergency power from Slovakia was over a month ago, and even then in minimal amounts. So while the agreement was formally terminated, in practice the system has been operating without this option for a long time. In other words, politicians make statements, while the power grid simply keeps working. Ukraine news. Yes, oil prices have started to climb. Consequently, prices at Ukrainian gas stations are fluctuating. Fuel prices in Kyiv vary significantly. It's good that the sun is warming up, but with such fuel prices, generator electricity is becoming more expensive. They say it won't exceed 99 hryvnias per liter because there's nowhere to put a third digit. But there is one unpleasant nuance. Ukraine imports fuel from Poland and Romania. In a couple of weeks, the cost of fuel in these countries has also risen. In Poland, over 2 weeks, gasoline prices rose by an average of 6.5%, in Romania by 5.5%, and in Ukraine by plus 15%. Gas prices in Ukraine are now about the same as in Poland. Where's this increase coming from? Apparently, someone decided to make an extra profit from the Persian Gulf blockade. Are you serious? Now the Anti-Monopoly Committee has started investigating the most clever gas stations. We're waiting for an explanation and hopefully punishment for those responsible. Just last week, a true sensation occurred. The Ukrainian Air Force successfully grounded the Russians' latest heavy strike drone, which they claimed was completely elusive. We are talking about the advanced S-70 Okhotnik stealth drone. This is a massive loss for Russia's defense industry. According to foreign reports, there were only 4 of them. Now there are 3. The Okhotnik was developed as a wingman for the Su-57 fighter jet. The idea is that the pilot controls the Okhotnik remotely while the drone flies ahead to detect air defenses and strike, protecting the manned aircraft. The Okhotnik is built as a flying wing like the American B-2 bomber. It has no tail section and the body is covered with a special radar-absorbent material. As they say, a 100% no analog design. The wingspan is about 20 meters, almost like a small passenger plane. Weight up to 20 tons, speed up to 1,000 kilometers per hour, jet engine. Armament. It can carry missiles and bombs in internal bays, allowing it to deliver a powerful strike while remaining theoretically undetected. Artificial intelligence. The aircraft is fully autonomous, taking off, finding targets, and returning on its own. This time it didn't return. The cost is $15 to $20 million. Total costs for launching the Okhotnik program were hundreds of millions of dollars. And Ukrainian drones continue to change the rules of the game at sea. Enemy ships hide in the Novorossiysk Bay, but even there they are targets. On the night of March 5th, the GUR conducted a large-scale operation using sea and air drones. 5 ships, a fuel terminal, and air defense systems were damaged, 1 S-300 and a supposedly unparalleled Panzer II. Efforts to exhaust Moscow's capacity to wage war are ongoing. For instance, the frigate Admiral Essen sustained critical damage to its central superstructure. A fire on the deck lasted for 18 hours. The frigate is brand new, supposedly peerless, and was commissioned into the fleet in 2016. It can fire calibers, zircons, and onyxes. Or rather, it could. Ukrainian drone strikes on Russian territory are becoming increasingly frequent. Every day, new videos appear on Telegram channels and social media in the aggressor country, filmed deep in the rear and in major cities. The population is terrified. There is no safe rear anymore. But it's unlikely this population will take to the streets and demand that their bunker leadership end the war. Sociological surveys show that logic is in short supply in the swamps. 57% of Russians believe that the SVO is going successfully. At the same time, 83% would support a decision to stop it. So 2/3 of those who support ending the war still consider it successful. Maybe the majority of the local population needs to realize that the SVO is a total disaster and only then will something change. We'll see. Meanwhile, Russia continues its missile and drone terror. On Saturday night, a ballistic missile caused significant destruction in Kharkiv. The final death toll is currently unknown. Debris removal and aid efforts are ongoing. In total, on Saturday night, the terrorist state launched 29 missiles at us, nearly half of which were ballistic. 480 drones were also launched, most of them Shaheds. They again targeted the energy sector as well as railway infrastructure. Damage has been recorded in many regions of Ukraine. And now for the weather. True spring warmth is coming to Ukraine, and temperatures will be higher than the climatic norm for mid-March. Next week, steady warming is expected in the Kyiv region. According to forecasters, daytime temperatures will gradually rise to 10 to 13 degrees, and night frosts will virtually cease. Next week, no significant precipitation is forecast. Mostly dry weather will prevail with alternating clouds and sunny intervals. Mind you, a massive Saharan dust cloud is moving towards Europe. but it is still quite a distance from us for now. Ukraine fights on and refuses to give up during these challenging times. Let's support one another and stand strong together. Subscribe to our channel, give us a like, and leave your comments. Together we are strong, together we are a nation. This has been Ana Muzika. See you in the next news update on the Razom UA channel.